Okay, let's get started, guys. Hope we had a good weekend. Can anyone hear me? Okay. All right. So last week we talked about we delved a bit more into objects and classes, and the response wasn't so encouraging, which is understandable. I remember when I was also learning. It was a hard concept for me to grasp. So, in that light, I will just go over classes and objects again before we start talking about the pillars of OOP. So, um, the things I will be sharing today is something things I've shared about classes and objects, and I want to just repeat it again in case someone has a different question they want to ask, and that would make it clearer for them. And also, I will also talk a little bit more on constructor, because I think that's where the confusion last time came from. I would talk a little bit more on that. So let me share my screen. Okay, before I share, let me close this guy. Okay, and then I'll share my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen. Okay. Just stop. Okay, good. So, why is it important that why is it important that we talk about this again, or you guys understand it? It's because whatever thing we are doing from here on now, after objects and classes, that's like the building block for everything you will be doing if eventually you become a Java developer, right? So it's a very important topic, and it's very important that you understand it. So that is why I'm taking the time to go over it again, and make sure that you understand every details of it. So I'll just create this and then call it class and objects 2. Oh, let me do it again. Yeah. And I just remembered, wow, I did not upload the class from last week. I'll do that. Let's say my class. Okay. So what is a class? A class is like I defined, it's like a blueprint or template for creating an object, right? I remember I gave an example with a baking company, right? They have a template, they have a mold, something they use to mold whatever thing they want to bake. So it's the same way for our classes, right? If you want to build a car, they are I don't know if you've watched all these car factories. They have something that molds a specific aspect of a car. They have something that paints it. They have some of those smaller components that handles every aspect of the whole thing we call a car, right? So that is what a class is. It's something that houses those small components that we use to create our objects. So, and also I remember saying that class has different things stored in it. It has attributes, which are the fields. It has constructor, which is used to create objects. We would learn about it later. Also, it has methods, which I also mentioned to be like the behavior of the class. So and then of course, when creating a class in Java, we use our assessor, put the class keyword. This is a keyword, so I can't create a variable called class and then the name of the class. So our access modifier, then class keyword, and then name of class. I believe this is clear so far because this is like the basics of the basics, right? I will appreciate if I ask questions, just one person can just maybe unmute and say yes or something. All right. Yes. Okay. So the attributes of a class is, or the fields. You have your assessor, then let's say string, which is your data type. Then, for example, first name, right? And another one, last name. You can have age, right? Those are attributes of a class, or these are attributes of a class. So attributes of a class are things, or will I say tiny details that make up for the class, for the object, right? If we have, for example, if we are creating a class of a person now, right, we would need all the informations about the person. Say, okay, let's just, instead of calling this my class, let me modify this and call it person. That way it could make more sense. So this is a person. If a person has a first name, last name, and age, depending on what we need. Okay, has a gender. We also can do email, say phone number and address of the person, and what else can we add for this person? Maybe birthday. So these are all the information that we need about this person, right? This is what the class provides for us. Now, our objects, when we now want to create this person, like we want to create a specific person, we use this class information and create that specific person. If we want to create Bemi, for example, all the information about Bemi, we use this guy here to do that. This is not Bemi, person is not Bemi, but when we now create that object, now becomes something that is housing Bemi. So if we want to get information about Bemi, sorry Bemi that I'm using you for example, if we want to get information about, okay, if we want to get information about her, we can say, okay, for example, let's say the name is unique. She's the only person in this information that has this information in our database or wherever we are storing this, maybe in our local disk, wherever we are storing all these guys, right? If she's the only person that has the name, we'll say, okay, by when I pass this name, give me the information, fetch me this person, whoever their name is. Does anyone have a question? Okay, you will ask Clement, just a moment. Whoever has this name that I am passing, right, give me information about them. Or we can say email. Email is usually unique because it's only one person that has an email. We say, okay, by email, anytime I enter this email, give me the information about this person. So if you use Bemi's email, it gives you information about Bemi. If you use Clement's email, it gives you information about Clement. If you use Ayor's email, it gives you information about Ayor. If you use my own email dossier, it gives you information about me. Do you understand? Okay, I want to believe that you understand. So Clement, can you ask your question? Is he still on the call? Yeah, can you ask your question? Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello. Okay. Said, yeah, good
Yeah,
day.
good.
I said, why are you using private string, and private int? It's supposed to be just string, and int. I want to know because there's some bit of confusion.
Okay, okay, I appreciate the question. So private string is the kind of data type. This is like I don't know if you joined us when we were starting. I doubt. I can't remember. I know you did not start with us, right? You joined after we started. So
Yes, but I watched all the videos. I watched
okay,
the videos
good, good.
over and over.
Okay. So if you remember in the video that where we discussed about data types, I mentioned the different data types that is available in Java. So the data type is the kind of information you want to store in your variable. If you want to store a string information, you have to say, okay, oh, my data type should be string. So let me just break it down like I did up there. So you have your access modifier, you have your data type, and you have the name of the variable. Okay, so you have your access modifier, which is this guy, private. You have your data type, which is string, and you have your variable name, which is first name in this instance. The same thing goes here. Last name is the variable name, age is it. So why am I using this guy? Number one is because here I want to store information that is of data of string data type, right? And here age is more like has to do more like a number in real sense, in even in real world scenario. Your age is like a number. You are 20, you are 21, you are 22, that kind of stuff. Who raised his hand? Yeah, Joseph.
You understand the data type on the DC. That's it shows that you added private on each of them. That is why I'm asking. The private you added them, you're not supposed to be just. I think because I was previously it was nothing like private. Do you understand what I mean? Sorry, I don't know
Oh,
if you.
okay. So you mean like
Mm,
I've had it like this?
yes. Why
Okay.
have it?
You're, is it just me or the network? His network is breaking.
His
Can
network
you
is
hear me
actually
clearly now?
breaking.
I guess it's because of the earpiece I was using.
Yeah, I think I understand your question. You're asking why we are using this guy, this as a private this thing, private, yeah. Or can you type out your question? Can you type it out so I will attend to it?
All right, sir.
Did you hear? Yeah, just type it out. And when you type it out, you can let me know. I'll read it and then attend to it. But if let me just answer the aspect and why we are using this guy. You remember in one of the classes I mentioned that you don't want someone out there to have a direct access to these guys, to this information, your face name, gender, and what's not, without having to go through maybe your methods. They can just set the name without going through your methods, like the set name method, get name method, all those stuff. You don't want someone to just come and say person dot class, person dot first name. They will now say equals maybe Clement. You want when they do that, they should say person, maybe the person this thing, which is the object, dot set name. Because if they set it with, let me see, let me do this. let's do this main class. If they have this access to do, oh no, let's do guys. Person. If they do person, if they're able to do person dots, say first name, this simply means they are assigning a value to your first name, right? Even though the code will print it out for you, but what it means is it's just as good as coming here and saying this first name is this and assign a value to it. But we don't want that behavior. We want when someone wants to assign a value to our name, they go through the set method. There's a method that will create in few, maybe just after this, called set name. Set first name, actually, not set name. First name. And this method will allow them to now pass their name and say their name is Clement. In your case now, right? That's why we are using private. We want to hide this from people. We don't want them to have direct access to it because we want them to have access using this method. We don't want them to set something direct to it here. I believe it's clear. Okay, so that is it for why we are using private here. So now I talked about constructor, right? Constructor gives us so number one, Java first of all has a default constructor. So if you don't create one, it assumes an empty constructor. That is why we have this guy here, right? If you create one and you don't also do overloading, constructor overloading, that one can, let's say, I'll explain what constructor means because I discovered that's what caused most of the issues we faced in the other class. So constructor will have this guy that has everything. You see here already is telling us that there is an error. Has he sent in his question? Okay, he said I answered it. All right, no problems. So this guy is giving us an error because it's expecting us to pass all these informations, but we've not passed it. We can come here. Remember overriding, overloading, all those things. We can come here and say public person and just, it takes, that error is gone. So in this case now, if we provide all these informations, it will call this guy. If we don't provide it, it will call this other guy. If you see now, it's even showing that it's in use in one place, right? And this one is not in use. This particular one, it's looking faded. Okay, any confusion on this? Before I want to like further explain constructor with, let's say, yeah, a very detailed example or illustration. So let's say constructor now, you are, let's say, yeah, let's use a car as an example, right? If you are in a factory that is building a car, right? Before you start, before you build this car for people to drive, you choose the color, the type of engine, the wheels you want to put there, the interior, the leather, the type of leather that will be in the interior, all those things, right? That is what constructor does. It helps us set up the information or the things that we need to be in our object. It helps us create it and prepares the object before we now use it. So here in this place, this constructor is literally helping us set up the information of this person. So if we come here and say, okay, oh, this person, we are creating person Clement, right? We'll say, we can now say, what's the other information here? We can now say first name is Clement, right? And is it first name? Yeah, that should be the first name. The last name is I don't know, Joseph. I think I saw Joseph. I don't know. I'm not so sure again. Then what is the next information we need? First name, age. Let's say, oh, age is a number. Let's say 20. Then gender, male. On this gender, I would teach you guys about an enum, a type of class called enum. It's a type of class called enum. We'll cover it later. So email is the next. So email, say Clement at email.com, right? Phone number, address, and birthday. Yeah, phone number, address, and birthday. So phone number is 080 whatever. That I don't know if this is someone's real number, sure. And then address is maybe somewhere in Lagos, or I don't know. And birthday. You see, immediately I provided the last one. That error I am having went out. If I remove it, if I remove this guy, it comes because I've not fulfilled the predefined informations I want this constructor to hold. So here, his birthday is let's say when he was born. Okay. Does this make sense? Guys, does this make sense?
It does to me.
Hmm?
Yeah, it does to me.
It does for you, right? Okay. I don't know. So now we have created an object. We have created a person called Clement. And of course, remember, you won't be able to, if you print this, you will not see these informations because who remembers why?
Because
Maybe don't stop. Maybe don't stop. Don't
okay,
stop.
oh, sorry.
Yeah. We have Clement and Lazarus. Who remembers why we can't? What we want actually is to have all these information printed out. Who remembers why we can't have that information? Lazarus, let's start from you. Don't worry, if you get it wrong, it helps me to know where to teach. It was last week class that even informed me that I need to cover this again because it's a hard to understand concept for a lot of people. So there's no shame in getting it wrong. Just try. That's the one thing. That's the one thing you should learn. Just try. There's no shame in getting it wrong. Are you there, Lazarus? Or you are somewhere you can't talk? Clement, do you want to give it a shot?
We did not call the class.
No, we are calling it here. We are calling it here. Okay, remember there is okay, answer first. Maybe I will then maybe explain if I need further explanation.
Okay, so it's more like at the point of creation. I think you mentioned that data it's going to store the memory.
Yeah.
location. So it's printing out the memory location. So you have to do a more like either override it to string method to print it out as a string, or just create another function for it to display it as a string.
Exactly. So each class or each object that you create, each class that you create has its own string value, right? It has its own string value under the hood. So for you to be able to see, and this string value that it has doesn't have all the information. It doesn't have all these first name, last name, blah 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 that we have. It doesn't have all these things. So for us to be able to print this guy without having issues, is we have two choices: create our own method that prints all these informations, or we override the default to string method in Java. So if you remember, we did that. I think we did both, but today we'll just do the override to string. So we are overriding all this information. We're not saying when I call this object, give me all this information, give me the string value. This one is just giving me the string, the address in memory where Java is storing it. It's giving us the address information. But what we need is this information that we just created. So now if we run this code, it prints those informations for us. Because this is it. Because we have overridden the default one Java works with. Remember, method overriding. We talked about it when we discussed about methods. Where is it? Yeah, when we discussed about methods. You can always go back and watch the video. I think one mistake I made is not naming the video after the topic that we covered. I'll possibly go back and do that, so it would be easy for people to navigate. I was just putting number to it, maybe class 1, class 2, class 3. So I will just go back and name it based on the topic, add the topic there. So if you want to go back to watch anything on method, you can go back and watch that one. So this is what we have here. Method overriding. We're overriding the one that already exists with Java because we did not define it anywhere. So we are overriding the one that exists in Java. So that is that. Is it clear now? So what constructor? Oh, okay. Someone on yeah, now. Go ahead. Someone unmuted now. Can you go ahead? Okay, so what constructor helps us to do is basically to create objects of our class. That's what it does. Now, bringing it back to the confusion we had during the polymorphism this thing. Where is it? During the polymorphism class. I think here. Yes. So we are saying here, animal, we are pointing to animal as our pet. So when we now call the constructor, we are saying create cat. Do you understand? It is the constructor that points to the object that we want this guy to work with, because they are both inheriting. The dog and the cat, they are inheriting from animal. So we are now, when we want to create this guy, we say create cat. And here, that's why when we ran the code, it was giving us whatever information we have about cats, even though the object, so to say, is pointing to animal. But because our constructor is telling it we want the behavior of a cat, the information of a cat. If we have if we have this cat, if we have a constructor here, if we have attributes of this cat, maybe name, age, whatever, and we pass it. When we print the information, we are just saying, give me the informations of this cat, and not of animal and not of dog. Does this make it clearer now? Guys, come on. Okay, thumbs up. All right, so it makes it clearer, because I was thinking where the confusion last week was coming from, and I felt this is, maybe I didn't like explain it better. So just Clement, or what's the other name again? Lazarus. Yeah, Clement or Lazarus. Where do you understand this now, or is it much better?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
What I could get there is that you say a constructor give an information about a class, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh. I got it to that point.
It's not just information about the class, right? It helps us to create. Can you mute, please?
Okay.
Yeah. It helps us to create or prepare the object before using it. You understand? It helps us to create this. In this case now, let me close these guys out and close this guy too. In this case now, it helps us to create an object for a person, and of course we now pass this information before using it. That is what a constructor does. And in the example I gave about that polymorphism, the constructor we are calling determines which one that it's being created. If we pass here, for example, if this guy is also inheriting from the animal, if we pass here, we can say animal here. We can say animal here, then go to this guy and say extends animal. You see the error is gone. If we now say, okay, person Clement dot this one, it gives us access to create all this information that is in Clement. Do you understand? I just hope I didn't confuse you for that. But I think you get the basics of it, but it does much more than that. That's what I'm trying to explain. I think Clement, do you understand? Because it's Lazarus that spoke.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let me remove this guy. I think we'll have to come back to this again, inheritance and co. So we'll probably come back to it in our next class before we move forward, because I want you guys to really understand this. It will help when we get to Spring Boot and all. It will help a lot. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to talk about methods, which, remember I said a class has at least three things. It has the attributes of the class, which is this. It has the constructor, which is this. Let me just create this guy for the sake of person Laz equals new person. Okay, so it helps us create house constructors. Another thing it does is our methods, which are the behaviors that we want the class to have, right? So We can do this. Actually, we can do this by typing it one by one. Create like something like this: public static dot get name, then return first name. We can do that, right? But there's no need writing for all of them when I can just generate it. So, and like I showed, I think I showed in one class, when we get to Spring Boot, there's one dependency called Lombok. We can just use it to create all these guys without really writing it out this way, without having them. All this, including constructor, everything here, including this toString method, even the hash node, hash code, all of them, we can just one annotation, and all these boilerplate codes, we don't have to write them, and the code will not complain. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. So this, our class has a lot of behaviors, right? We have a behavior that helps us to get okay, let's start with this one. It helps us to get the first name of the person that is passed. So we can come here and do something like Clement.get first name. So instead of printing all the, oh no, this is not what I wanted. Instead of printing all the informations about Clement like we did here, I don't know if it's still, no. Yeah, instead of giving us all this information about Clement, it will just give us his first name alone. You see, it didn't give us all the information, because at this point we're saying we're only interested in getting his first name. We can do that, get his address, use it to get. So these are different behaviors. This behavior is the one that fetches his first name. This one is the one that we can use to set a first name. Let's take, for example, here that we have Lars. Now we can say Lars.set first name, right? And we can go ahead and print the information that we just set. Before we do that, I want to have an empty space in between the two. Just that. You see, we have this, we have for last too. So this is it. I don't know. Is it very clear? I have not seen any reaction. If you guys, is it okay? Okay, let me. Lazarus, Clement, is it better now?
Sorry, sir. I want to ask, is this, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is this first in
I think I lost you. You said what?
Do you
Can
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I said the method first.
Please, if any other person is hearing him, can you explain the question?
I think his network is not
Okay,
working.
who was asking the question?
Can
Can you please just type it out? I'll just read it and answer. It seems your network is breaking in between. But I think he's asking about these dots. I don't know. I think he said something about dots and then I lost him. So dots, this is the way Java has defined for us to call method, use an object to get access to a method. We say dot. It now lists all the methods that is associated to this class. So for example, we can Okay, this one has more information. So let's say S out, for example. So Clement dot, you see all the information that is associated to Clement, right? Even Java informations, right, that we can use to compare two objects. This one equals, we can use to compare. Then the hash code I was talking about, get class, all these ones, they are also there, they are provided. Okay, have you sent in your question? This get first name method, is it a known? Is it a known method? Yeah, it's a known method. It's a method that we created ourselves. See it, get first name. If you just click here, this is it. We are saying return. This method is just returning any information that is passed to this first name here. And in our code here, we are saying first name is what? Lazarus. What we call get name, it gets us this information. On this one, we are saying first name is Clement, as you can see here. And what we call get first name, it gets us Clement. That's why we have Clement and then we'll have Lazarus here. It's a method that we have defined here. If we do get address, it gets us the address of Clement. I think Clement has the get address, Clement dot get address, yeah. So it gives us the address of Clement. You see, somewhere in Lagos, because we said here that his address is somewhere in Lagos. Maybe if we say somewhere in Lekki phase 1 and we'll run the code again, we'll repeat. So whatever information we pass to address, this method here, this get method here, is just saying return that information. You can see here. And this goes back to reference our discussion on methods. I will try and add the topic we covered on those videos. And I remember I think we did 2 classes on method. So just go back, watch it again. So we're just saying here on this one, get method, return whatever thing that is passed to the address. On this one, we're saying whatever thing that is passed to birthday, return it for us. I don't know if you answered your question. Did you answer your question, Joseph? Okay, I want to take it like it does answer his questions. So, like I said, I wouldn't mind taking this again, but if we are going to discuss this again, I want it to be question and answer based, right? You can go read up on this. I shared a resources that would help with you guys understanding this. So if you watch the video, you don't understand it, you go and read the material I shared and you still don't understand it, or you can write down the questions you have. Maybe they mentioned something I did not mention and it's confusing you, write it down. We can have this session again where I talk about it or answer your question. Does it help? I think, I don't know. Does it help? Guys, please answer.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Because I want, once we pass these classes and objects, I want us to move fast, because the other topics are not like as important as the advanced things that we are going to cover. It's important, so don't get me wrong, it's very important. But when we start building projects on Spring Boot and all, it's not some of them you might not even need them as much as you need classes and objects. That's what I'm trying to say, but it's still important. Okay, since we have covered all the information that has to do with class, would end the class here. Do you have any questions? Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, the
Oh, okay.
question
Clement
I
said,
have.
can we get the resources? Yeah, sure. I'll reshare it. I'll reshare it in the group. Please go ahead. Sorry, Bemi.
Okay, so the question I have, I don't know, you said we'll still touch inheritance, but I noticed while giving the data type for the when you when the person class inherited from animal class
Yeah.
and then you gave the data type, you gave it a data type of animals,
Mm,
which is the parent class, and then you use the constructor of the person.
yeah.
So is that possible? I just want to know, is it a
If
thing that
if
is
it's
possible, like something you do, and what is the behavior when you do
okay,
that?
okay. So the behavior we get is called polymorphism. So we want animal when you run the code. It's there are different types of polymorphism. We're able to cover one, but I would do that. I will talk about it again. So there is a runtime polymorphism. This is what the one we are discussing. So what we are doing here is this: extend animal. Remember, oh, I think I'm extending I'm extending another animal. I should be pointing to this one. Remember when why is it because now we are not we are pointing to animal. Anyways, this is different from what we are discussing. So when we say something like get this information, because okay, so let me explain what is happening here. Because this object does not have this Clement here, this animal does not have all those informations. They get whatever, get this, get that. So it doesn't have these methods, right? If it has this method, the child class can get access to it, but it doesn't have it. So that's why it's throwing this error. But what I was trying to explain is, based on your question, is on runtime, we are saying this animal, this thing that we created, animal object that is created here. On runtime, I want you to pick the behavior of a person. So that is why when we run this code, even though we are talking about an animal here, it gives us the behavior or the information of a person.
Oh, okay.
You see, it gives us the information of a person. If, for example, this person, okay, since this one has make noise, so let's say a person has their own too. A person has their own too. We we call it person speaks, right? Because we know a person or speaks instead of backing or whatever. So if we come here now and say Clement dot make noise, make noise, what's the name of this thing? Make noise. Oh, okay, I'm supposed to override it. Override for me to. First of all, I need to give it access of public. I think that's the major issue, sir. Okay. I need to override at override dot make noise. Why am I not getting this guy here? Why am I not getting it? Is there any issue? Don't know why I'm not getting it. Who is it a different? Okay, probably it's a different this thing. No, yeah, it is now. It's the same thing. So why is it not? Is the override this thing? Who make noise? I don't know, make it abstract. I'll check why I'm not getting this. Maybe I'll explain later, but for some reasons, this one to animal. Oh, okay, it has to be an abstract method there. Oh, it has two other places I'm using it. Comments out. Okay, let me just comment out these classes. One place that I'll explain this behavior. I'll just look into this and explain this behavior in the next class. But what I'm trying to just demonstrate is we can get access to the parents. This we can override the parents class because we're extending it, and then have our own implementation of the class of this this method of person and give it a person definition. So when we run this code, it gives us the behavior for person.
Okay. Okay.
It's this one is breaking these guys because I've commented out the classes. Run. Yeah, so you see, person speaks. So that's just it. I don't know if there is any other question. But like I said, we'll also talk about the inheritance again in the next class.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.